Welcome to the Deep Wealth Podcast, where you learn how to extract your business and personal deep wealth. I'm your host, Jeffrey Feldberg. This podcast is brought to you by Deep Wealth and the 90-Day Deep Wealth Experience. When it comes to your business deep wealth, your exit or liquidity event is the most important financial decision of your life. But unfortunately, up to 90% of liquidity events fail. Think about all that time and your hard-earned money wasted. Of the quote-unquote successful liquidity events, most business owners leave 50% to over 100% of the deal value in the buyer's pocket and don't even know it. I should know. I said no to a 7-figure offer and yes to mastering the art and the science of a liquidity event. 2 years later, I said yes to a different buyer with a 9-figure deal. Are you thinking about an exit or liquidity event? Don't become a statistic and make the fatal mistake of believing the skills that built your business are the same ones to sell it. After all, how can you master something you've never done before? Let the 90-Day Deep Wealth Experience and the 9-step roadmap of preparation help you capture the best deal instead of any deal. At the end of this episode, take a moment and hear from business owners like you who went through the Deep Wealth Experience. Jerry Cahn's unique skill set as a psychologist, attorney, entrepreneur, and professor enables him to take both the person and the system into account. Jerry works with individuals and companies to challenge growth-limiting ideas to develop and implement innovative solutions. As chairman of CEO advisory boards at Vistage, Jerry combines his first-hand experience of doing, which is founding, building, and improving organizations, with his expertise in coaching, strategic consulting, and teaching. Jerry feels privileged to work with smart CEOs and business developers who want more success, want to grow and minimize wasted time by capitalizing on opportunities and avoiding costly mistakes. Through executive coaching, Jerry focuses on how to become a more effective leader. At Vistage meetings, Jerry challenges the members to share, collaborate, and generate new ideas. The magic of peer advisory takes place when members hear new and different perspectives that lead to a much better solution than the member was originally considering. As a personality and social psychologist and policy-focused attorney, Jerry has had the opportunity to engage in many areas, including the first national evaluation of handicapped children's needs for Head Start services, teen support groups, healthcare issues on Capitol Hill and all sectors of the economy, presentation-focused technology and consulting companies, and PR firms. Jerry teaches in universities and has sponsored mentoring internships to over 600 global students. Today, Jerry devotes his energy to helping mature adults unleash their potential with Age Brilliantly, a community platform for people who want to live fulfilling lives to 100 or more years. Welcome to the Deep Wealth Podcast, and for all you business owners out there, whether you're thinking of a liquidity event or not, I got to tell you, coming out of this episode, you will never look at your either post-exit life or retirement the same way again. We have with us a thought leader, entrepreneur, track record of success. You can check all the boxes, but what we're going to be talking about, you're not going to be hearing anywhere else. Very excited to have Jerry with us. Jerry, welcome to the Deep Wealth Podcast. And you know, there's always a story behind the story. Jerry, what's your story? What got you to where you are today?
Well, thank you. Hard work. I think that's the simplest answer. A lot of hard work.
Good answer.
When I was a kid, my name is Cahn, and I'm thinking that should be an acronym for something. And I came up with challenging assumptions here and now. Because that's, I think, what we need to do in our societies. We need to challenge assumptions. Mm-hmm. As you and I know from our other conversations, among all the many things I do, I work with Vistage and I work with CEOs who have high integrity. They're all successful, at least the ones I choose for my groups. They're all successful, but they want more success. And success is defined from both a business and a personal point of view, from their employees, from their families, the community, etc. And I enjoy helping them grow. Some of my people have grown 5-10 times in a couple of years that I work with them. But I also teach. I love teaching. And I teach here in America, but I also teach China. So I'm in Shanghai when you're teaching, and it's summer, and I'm taking this long walk And suddenly my voice is just challenging assumptions. Well, why are you here? And the reason is I wanted to learn about the Chinese culture. I wanted to see a different world. I wanted to figure it out. Now I'm saying, okay, you're a teacher and you're a Vistage member, the chairman, but what do you really want to do with your life? And I said, you know what? I miss running a company. Remember, I told you I ran Brilliant Image. We had, for 15 years, 5,000 clients, the most demanding investment bankers that you could ask for, every major bank, every major Fortune 500 who needed a slide presentation in as fast as 4 hours, 24/7, we did it. And I love the thrill of creating heroes for people out of my clients. And so I spent a lot of my time doing it. So I said, you know what? I miss not having my hands in the pie. I can write a recipe book, but it's not the same thing as actually building something. And I said, you know something? I have in me easily the ability to create one more company, but I want this one to be the legacy company. I want it to be the most important, influential company that's going to change lives, that's going to give people the tools to make their lives better. Great. I have no idea what that means. I keep walking and I keep reading, and I'm reading the newspapers, which are basically Chinese and English. And I read and I watch Japanese TV because it's the only one that has an English show on it. And I'm learning a lot about longevity and something I'd never even thought about. And I realized if you wanted something big, everybody is going to grow old. So I've got a world right now of 8 billion people, and it's going to get bigger. Wow, that's a pretty good market to work with. What could I do with it? And I started doing some research, et cetera. Make a long story short, I realized that the gift of longevity means we're all going to live longer. The key is going to be a good life. Is it a fulfilling life, however we define fulfilling? And if it isn't, what a waste. There was a campaign many years ago, mind is a terrible thing to waste. I think a life is a terrible. And that became it. And so we did some research on the major institutions and organizations in the United States that were serving them and realizing what they're all about. They're basically focused on celebrities and providing some information. They're really vehicles for advertising. They're not necessarily really doing something substantial. And I said, what are the people's needs? And that brings me to the second thing. My parents are older. And what I'm doing is I'm watching them, and they're doing like every kid's parents and grandparents have done. They start getting older, they deteriorate, they're not paying as much attention to what stuff. Thank God neither really had dementia. But the point is, you could see the deterioration, a big D that helps them, that gets them. And I said to myself, I wonder if there's something we could do to avoid that. And with that, and then my father first dying, and watching my mother then really deteriorate, because for the first time in 86 years, she was alone. She'd gone from being in her family to getting married to having kids to having a husband, and now he's gone. And basically, I'm her caretaker. But the answer is she's alone in many ways for the first time in her entire life. And there's a quote, life without hope draws nectar in a sieve. Hope without an object cannot live. So we need hope to keep us going. And was nothing better hope for it. She'd had a great life. Okay. At that point, I started putting together a community, getting the literature, putting it all together, and realized what's the single biggest way I can help people. And I realized I can build a platform where I can invite all the other people who provide valuable services, estate planners, financial advisors, home care companies, people who help people get second, third, fourth careers, providing additional education. I can give them a place to all be there and help a person become a holistic, integrated human being that's going to be better and better. And I said, that's something we can achieve by providing information, inspiration of the role models who are trailblazing already, providing support where you talk to other people, where you focus in on getting tools and then the resources to make it happen. And this could eventually become a public company, because the answer is, as Peter Lynch said, you want to invest in things we all know ourselves, and we all know how we could be better. So why not think of that as the long thing? It's a global company that could do it. Let's start small, though, in New York. It's a small little community some of us have heard. And so that's where agebrilliantly.org starts from, and as its platform. And it's been a great journey. And the great news about it is, as my kids have told me, I told them that today we now know we can live to 100 plus. Some UCLA researchers who've recently said publicly, you can find the titles in Google, that today's kids are going to live to 100, 300, 400. So you've really got this chance for people. But are we maximizing that entire time? We're not. And the hardest part is getting people to understand that the goal in life is not to go through school for 20 years, then have a career and build it and a family. And then you retire at 65 for a few golden years that just keeps getting longer and longer and longer. And we don't want to run out of our money. And we have no plans for what we're doing. As I spoke to some people in Europe today about this, I said, you realize we spend more time planning some kid's wedding than we do the 10,000 days, 20 to 35 years after 60, 65, when some people are already retired and some people thinking that's good. It's not. How do we change it? Our framework's very simple, and that's what we want people to do is somewhere in the 100-year life, you will have about 80 years of being an adult. And you can do anything you want in any order you want. So what you could decide to do is instead of working for 35 years and then retiring and not knowing what you're going to do, you could do like Stagowitz does. What he's done is he's figured out a system where he works every 6-7 years, and then he takes a year off, kind of like a week, and you have a weekend, a sabbatical. Okay, same idea. And that's how he does. And then he takes 1 year off. Now, can you imagine working for 5, 6, 7 years and knowing you have your number, I'm going to go there and I'm going to structure that with my kids and my family and everything, and then travel the world. And you've done that 10 times, 15 times in your life before you stop. It's a wonderful opportunity. We could live so much of a more fulfilling life if we go through the principles. And if you go to Age Brilliantly, the 7 principles, what it takes to really do it and understand you have the capability.
And so, Jerry, wow. I mean, firstly, congratulations. There's a lot to unpack there. You started Age Brilliantly at agebrilliantly.org. And what I like about what you've done is you've taken something, when we think about our lives, for many of us, it just seems complex. Where do I start? What do I do? And not to confuse simple with simplicity, as I like to say, you've really put it out there. You're focusing on health and then finances and relationships. And then behind that, the purpose, the passion, and the time. And you said something really interesting that I would love to expand upon. We have been, maybe use the word brainwashed or social programming, to exactly what you said. Hey, you know what? I'll have some kind of a career. If I don't own my company, then I'll retire at one point. Or if I own my company, I at one point will sell it. And that's where the story ends. But we don't really put a lot of planning and preparation into that. Then what? And then to your other point, it's really the perfect storm. We are living longer. And you're throwing out numbers of 102, 103. I'm hearing those numbers and even beyond that in terms of where we're going. Jerry, for the busy entrepreneur or founder, executive, who's out there, who's listening to this, they come to you today and say, okay, listen, I have a long runway ahead. No plans to sell the company. In fact, maybe I can't even see life without the company. I don't know what that looks like or what that means. That's scary to me. But I want to do some planning like I do with my business. I want to do this for my life, the most important thing in the world to me. Where would you start with them? What does that look like?
It's a great question. Actually, we've just introduced a new project and workshop and coaching related to it. And we call it Launch Your Future Self. And the recognition is what you've done for us. Let's assume you're 50, you've run your company for 20, 30 years, you're very successful, you cash out. What are you going to do next? If you don't know, inertia says you stay where you are, which is why somebody gave me a number recently. 7 million people are still in their businesses, even though they want to get out, but they don't know how to get out because they don't have an attraction. What else could I do? So we look at that. Remember, life is a terrible thing to waste, that these are opportunities lost. If they stay in their company beyond when they should be there and go do other things, it's wonderful. When I sold my company, I had a partner and we had a lot of people, and it was clear they didn't need me and my partner. And I told my partner very first day, you'll go with the company because you love this and you're younger and you want to do this. I want to go do something different. I want to help people build business. So I pulled New York City's first incubator. And so it was a way of saying, this is what I wanted. The key is to have something in your future to hope for you want to do. What we do is we have a whole series of programs, tools that people can use to be able to start visualizing where they might want to go based on their values and goals and an understanding of where they've been. And recognize their future self is who we're building this for. Not them, but their future self, who may be the same, may be very different. And that person is going to actually be many next selves. So, for example, I might be a doctor. I've got a medical practice. I've decided I don't really want to see patients every day, but I've been offered a chance to run a clinic system or concierge medical or a hospital. So that might be the next 7, 8 years of my life. I'm in a new role. I'm learning. I'm growing. Okay, there's no deterioration anymore. I'm constantly doing new things. And I've done that well. And then what happens is the government looks at me and says, you're great. We need another doctor at Mayo Clinic, or we need someone in the Department of Health and Services to make sure that in the future, if we have a pandemic, we know what to do. Would you be willing to work on a task force? So maybe you end up as the Secretary of Health and Human Services, all of them being there, and you're now 92. I told you just briefly when we were talking, the most fascinating thing last week is that there's a Dr. Howard Tucker out of Cleveland who's 100 years old. He's a practicing doctor, neurologist. He's got a wife who's 89, that's psychiatrist. He's got a family. He's got all of the, and you listed them, the essentials of life. Okay. He keeps himself healthy. He's done enough financially. He's secured his freedom of movement. Harvard longitudinal study said that if you want to live long and be happy, the number one thing you need is a supportive relationship. He's got that wife, the kids, the grandchildren. He's got his own sense of passion. He's also a lawyer. He decided, I want to learn that along the way. He's got purpose because he's doing all the social stuff, and now he's letting people know, hey, you could do this too. And that's his purpose, like it is mine. And time mastery is really the hidden ingredient in all of this, because we need to plan our time better. We don't manage time, we manage assets. But time is something that we have to use, and we have to master how we do it. And that's what time mastery is about. That's why I did it. So helping you figure out what you want to do with multiple selves. And here's the key. John Maxwell, who's a tremendous inspiration for a lot of people, and they've heard of him, talks about intentional living. That's really the difference. What happens is, as children, we have no idea. And the only role models that pave the way for us are our parents and our grandparents and our great-grandparents. We have to remember, in 1900, you only lived to 45. When Social Security was pronounced in 1934, what happened is we had then a lifespan of 60. So the result is, when we're looking at all these people who've given us these role models, they lived in a different world. We live not only in our world, but as I tell my children all the time, as I think of what I'm going to do, I'm living in their world. For example, I don't know about you, but I know when I was 16, 17, we all wanted a license so we could go out and date and do whatever we wanted to do with a car. Okay. My kids, I have 3 kids. None of them have a license. None of them. And I said to them once, how come you guys have an interest? And I live in Manhattan. Everything is easy to get to without it. You know something? Not only that, but you're right. You're not even going to need a driver. Because 5 years from now, it's all going to be autonomous vehicles. Part of your future self is to see what you might want to do in a world you might have to create, or is being created as we go. You know, the old saying about you building the bridge and you're going along the bridge as you're going. It's exactly what we're going to be doing. And the key here is that if you're a business owner and you're 20, one of my sons is 23, he's just raised several $1 million to be able to build a new machine learning company. I don't know. He might be a fire candidate when he gets finished, which is financial independence, retire early. I've met people like that at 30 that cash out for lots of money, 6, 7, 8 figures. And then they think, you know what? I'm going to enjoy life. I'm going to figure out where I want to go next in my life. But they don't think of it as retirement. We have to reject the word retirement, or we have to retire the word retirement. You retire when you stop wanting to work. And the only time you want to do that is when you don't see another opportunity, because work isn't just for income. Again, our grandparents, they had to work for income. This generation, our generation already, are knowledge workers and wisdom workers. And knowledge and wisdom workers aren't being paid because they can move boxes. No, you got a machine that does that, and you learn how to do that. What we're able to do is things that they could never do before, and we have to work into that world.
Jerry, you are really on the forefront. You're creating a whole new movement. And I like what you just said. Let's retire the concept of retirement. And you really brushed upon that of people retire, and we're talking a little bit about this offline. I mean, there's not a happy ending here for retirement in the conventional way. Why don't we talk a little bit about that? And then I'd like to flip it of how, once we understand this and we look to age brilliantly as a resource for us, really as a coach. And, you know, Jerry, as you're talking, I'm thinking it's probably a sad thing, but I'll throw it out there. You know, people may have a fitness trainer, you know, for one time a week, but that's about it. Here we're talking about the entire life and the different areas that you're covering of how it can impact them, again, from their mental mindset to their physical health to everything else in between. And as we know here in the Deep Wealth podcast, we, pun intended, help you extract your personal and business deep wealth. Your health is your wealth. You can have the best liquidity event in the world, and you can have a 12-figure liquidity event. But if you don't have your health, what's the point? It's all for naught. Why don't you walk us down the conventional way, which really isn't the right way, retirement and what happens. And then someone who's smart enough, a business owner who's smart enough, who reaches out and says, okay, you know what, this future self, this program that you have, hook me up here. Let me speak to a coach who's going to help me, maybe a board of directors of one who's really going to make a difference in my life. Why don't we contrast and compare the traditional retirement versus what it's going to be like with the future self? What does that look like?
Okay, we will do that. And then remind me at the end, I'll also look at how companies have to change as a result. There's a book which is called Extra Time, and it symbolizes exactly what the old world is all about. If you have many financial advisors 30, 40, 50 years ago, their whole goal was to say, listen, retirement, Social Security, you can't retire in Social Security enough. You need some other stuff. Mm-hmm. But over the next 10, 15 years, they began to realize people were living longer. The result is really, how do you maintain a nest egg large enough through investments, through compounding, that's going to be able to afford it, especially in a world where we don't know when anything's going to cost. Imagine spending $234,000, which is one projection, just on healthcare. Okay? I mean, it's just an incredible thing to do. Our whole point was the few golden years became many. And then what happens is people who follow that find out in the past couple of years, in most cases, they get bored. They just don't want to keep going to the same thing, doing the same thing over again. And what they do is they'll do a lot of volunteer stuff, but now they become a librarian assistant helping people find books. I was a CEO of a big company, and now I do. Not to say it's not valuable. The point is, could we not have used this person better? And that's what the person says, and that's why they're not happy. So we don't look at the extra time being added to a period called retirement. Forget the word retirement. Retirement happens at any age you want it to happen, but it's when you say, I will no longer work just for money. Mm-hmm. When I do something of its passion or purpose, I'm doing it for that reason, and that's okay, but that's not the work as we defined it for retirement. It's just, I'm going to keep working all my life because I love being an artist and I love helping people and I want to advise people and whatever the case may be. Take great people like Ray Dalio, who is making a decision to leave his hedge fund and he's turning it over and he builds the principles and he's doing it. Now he's what we call a share exer. He is sharing his experience and expertise with other people. And that is ultimately for any of us who've gone through some experience running a business, and you're a share extra, Jeffrey, because you've exited your company and now you're trying to show people what they can do to think it out better and not make some mistakes that other people have made. And that's what's great about it. So rather than put all of that extra time, which could be, as I said, 25 to 40 years, it could be 10,000 days, into that, I don't know what I'm going to do, empty pocket. What we're saying is start earlier with intentional living, lay out a structure of all the different things you want to do. And then what you can do is, and this is, I'll share this with you, we're going to build an app for you, mm-hmm. because this way you could track what you've done. Mm-hmm. And that way you can watch yourself changing and you can share it with your family and you can keep updating it because there's going to be accountability to yourself and the pods that you might build to be able to do it. What you're doing, you can watch what the next from, let's say, 40 to 100 might look like because you started at 40 and see what that's like and leave a digital record for yourself. And as I say, for your kids or whatever the case, you're going to figure out what are all the next selves I want to do. And I gave you one example of a doctor who could end up as the head secretary of Health and Human Services and then eventually work on different boards and use their advice, et cetera. Because what they have the expertise is how do you get people to get holistic care? How do we integrate it, which we have not done until now? And what's different now is we're sitting down with people in live workshops. We're going to be sitting down with people on a coaching basis, and then that material goes again into their app system if they want it, that they can track what they're doing and what they see. Because we believe, if you want to use a really kind of fun word with it, that my brother-in-law coached, it's imagination. The key is we have to start imagining what we haven't done. We have to look at the trailblazers like Dr. Tucker and saying, look what you could be doing, okay? Or we have a marathoner at 100, or we have a fashionista at 100 that's still studying fashion. People are doing it today, but we don't pay attention to them. What we've paid attention to is our grandparents who were born 100 years ago, and their life was very different. The situation was different. We didn't have the nutrition. We didn't have the science. We didn't have the technology to help promote longevity, which we have now and will have more in the future. There's some major things happening around the world on helping promote people. There is one person whose belief is, his quote is, there's somebody who's born today who's going to live to 150. That's already there. The question is, how do we live into that? That's what we're doing. And it's through pops that are live, because the answer is a lot of thinking on it. Or long-term programs, because we like to flip school, where you do the work and then you come together and figure out what does that really mean. And it's a lifelong process.
Taking a sidestep here, but it's directly related. When you were running the business and then you exited and now you're working with successful CEOs and you're part of Vistage and you're a thought leader and you're just out there and you're interacting with all kinds of different people, different strokes of life, everything, going out there. Offline, we're talking a little bit about this. It's a sad story. People retire and then, ultimately they don't last that long. What's the thinking? What's the science behind that? Why do we go from retirement to death fairly quickly, as opposed to really what your thesis, what I'm hearing is, hey, you know what? Let's just do a little bit of shifting here. Your golden years don't have to be at the end of your life. You can have your golden years right now. You could do any number of things. And through Age Brilliantly, we're going to help you with that. We're going to help you have, I've heard you use this term a number of times, and I like it, this intentional living, where it's deliberate, it's planned, but it's there to optimize your happiness regardless of what your biological age is. Optimize happiness throughout your entire life. I would love to hear some more about that.
So let me just challenge a little bit of what you said. The golden concept was that if you retired at 65 and you died by 70, that's actually when it came to existence. And you have the web who created retirement villages. You have the villages all over the country, especially in Florida, where these people could come and do it. The reality of it is they're all living as an average till 80. So this short period of time, 3, 4, 5 years, is now already 15. Okay. And it's going to keep getting longer. The problem is they get bored doing what they're doing for logical reasons. That's what human nature is all about. We're about movement. When they get bored, they have to figure it out. In many ways, if we have some people who could be 60 and saying, I was thinking of retiring because I get a pension, but I have no idea what I want to do because I've never planned it. I don't know where I'm going to go. They're still thinking, when I ask the question, how long do you think you'll live? They'll go, most of my friends have died about 75, 80, maybe 85. That's when I'm going to do. What's changed is I teach, and I used to teach an aging course. And we have a survey we do the first day. And the first question is, when do you think you're going to die? And most people would say somewhere around 80, 85. Then we change the question more. This is the beauty of science. We realize what they're doing is they're thinking of someone who died young. We ask a different question. What's the oldest person you know, or neighbor, and then that lives? And they all come back, I know someone at 98. Then we say, how long do you think you're going to live? And they go, well, if he lives to 98, he smokes. I don't smoke. I go to the gym. I'll live past him. And suddenly they realize, oh my God, I have all these extra years. That's the answer to the question. We need people to realize they really do have this time. And they do have the control when they can do it. I think you understand, instead of putting off, Warren Buffett said, don't put off sex, because the answer is it's going to be too late if you wait till you're going to be tired for it. It goes the same way with legacy. The greatest legacies aren't done after you're dead and you're giving Nobel Prizes away through the money you're giving. Why not do things like you have Bill Gates, who says, I'm going to stop working now and go into something else, and look at all the phenomenal wonders that he's doing, okay? And there are lots of it. Just as I've said, you could take vacations every, for a whole year, 2 years, 5 years, 1 week, it doesn't matter, throughout your life. You can leave your legacy throughout your life. I run another program called Mentoring Internships. I started this when I was going to grad school, and I needed some young people to help me out doing a survey. And I brought them in and I said, you don't know how to do interviews, I'll teach you. You don't know about healthcare, I'll teach you. And the next thing I realized is none of them really knew what they wanted to do. I've had over 650 interns in my career from all over the world, even through the pandemic. And the goal is to help people make better life decisions, specifically aimed at career. Because many of them come to this country, many of them are coming from other countries, and they've chosen a profession because their parents said it's a solid profession. I'm going to be an accountant because everyone needs an accountant, so it's going to be there. And I go, are you interested in? No, I hate it. Wouldn't have you? That was what that old world was about. You had to retire from the job you hated. What are we changing? We're saying you pick a job that you love. It's not perfect. You and I have been entrepreneurs. We slept on the floor. We got through all of that, but you're investing in your future self when you're doing that. And that's what we think is really what life should be about. That makes it exciting. You get my energy. It's exciting when you think of it that way. Legacy is the same thing. Leave your legacy while you're alive. Watch it happen. See what else you can do. All the things that we thought have to wait till later don't have to wait at all. And as the Chinese proverb says, when's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago, so you'd have all the fruit. But if you didn't, then now is the second best time. And that's really our hope. Now is the best time. And you've asked the last question about CEOs. I work with CEOs and companies. And companies, they say, what do we do? How do we help keep our people there? And with confronting them, they suddenly realize, you know what? I have a lot of older workers who really have a lot of value still. I don't want to lose them. I have one person who runs a fabrications, manufacturing, little stuff. The guy's 80 years old. And thank God, as my CEO says, he doesn't want to retire. And I'm really glad because I can't find anybody else with this skill set. So what we need to do is change the way we structure the workplace, to encourage people to constantly keep learning and sharing, being sharexers, mentoring other people, offering it, teaching salespeople how you build relationships to sell, how you do M&A, figuring out what kind of synergies are there. They've seen enough to be able to do it and keep growing and growing this thing. That's why you do see judges, presidents, leaders, CEOs in 70s, 80s, going into 90s. It's really interesting. We see that. Ruth Bader Ginsburg was 87 when she passed away. Okay. She was an icon to younger generation, to Gen Z and Gen X, because she was showing what we could do. They need to be there. They need to do it. And what that's going to do, it's going to solve the talent management problem corporations are running into. And to understand why we have it, if you read one of my articles I wrote for Forbes, it's not, I don't think the Great Resignation has another way to look at it. It's not that. What it says is for the first time in the history of our country and our industrial complex, and I'll go to scientific management to show you what I mean in a minute. When I grew up, you either did work or you did home. And if you had to go home and you want to watch the kid in the ballet or in a debate or whatever the may, you couldn't do that because you're supposed to be in business. We divided ourselves. How absurd is that? You think of that. What the Great Resignation, Great Exploration did is it said to people, well, let me see if I understand. My job is to get a contract signed because I've sold this thing and I want to do that. I'm going to fly from New York to California for 6 hours, sit down, have them sign a contract in front of me, get on the next plane, fly back. In the meanwhile, I have to bring in somebody who doesn't really know my daughter, who's 3 years old, and be the babysitter, so to speak, for the day. I'd much rather be home. Well, that's what DocuSign solves. And that's what Zoom solves. We don't have to do it. We have now, for the first time, an opportunity to create integrated human beings that are holistic, that see it. What happens is, and that's why the whole job numbers are really wrong. There's a lot of people running multiple jobs through their home. Okay. And that's what these gig workers are doing. What they do is they may get up at 5, 6 in the morning, which before they didn't do right away. And they may go to bed at 11, but they've done 1 to 2 jobs. They've taken care of the family, they're taking care of the kids, and they're working on their future self all at the same time. Because that's the new world we've created, the integrated holistic person, as opposed to with scientific management, which Taylor did, if you remember at the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. He said, we're going to give you machines like assembly lines, and you have to stand there and you have to move the things down the line. I don't know if you've ever done this. I always have my people do this. I say, go to YouTube, look up Lucille Ball, the chocolate scene, and you're laughing because you know what I'm talking about, and you see how crazy. That's what we did. We became the robots to the machines. Now I want to create people. And what's great about it, whether it's a physical bot or this kind of approach, what we're doing is freeing people to really live integrated lives. That's why these people who are quitting are saying, you know what? I don't want to just do a job. I want to do a job that's going to make a difference in the world. Passion or purpose, whichever one you're into. Writers will be passion. Artists, purpose might be you want to write the great American novel and stimulate people. Whatever, doesn't matter. That's what Age Brilliantly is all about, freeing us up. I work with one colleague who said, in essence, you're talking about the limitless human being. Yeah, I think what this is really about is limitless leadership, limitless for ourselves and for everybody else we work with. It's limitless life. We don't know all of our potential right now, and it's limitless legacy. It's this ability to make a difference to other people's world and make it better. We do like Greta Thunberg. She's not even an adult. And look what impact she's had on what we're doing in the environment.
So, Jerry, let me ask you, if I'm listening to this, and obviously I am, and for our listeners, I'm hearing what's being said, and wow, this is a whole different way of looking at it. I like what I'm hearing. I just love the idea of having this really intentional living and my future self and everything that goes along with that. If I'm a business owner, as an example, I'm busy, I've got the business, I'm growing it, I'm doing the daily fires, everything else that goes along with that. But I want to have intentional living. And I come to age brilliantly. Okay, I'm here. Jerry, yeah, you've sold me on this. I've bought it hook, line, and sinker. I am ready. Where do I start? What does that look like when I start working with Age Brilliantly with your process?
If you're a company doing that, first of all, what we'd be saying to you is, okay, let's talk about what you really care about with your employees. Maybe we'll work with HR and we'll work with other leaders. And we'll start saying to them, let's deal with all the different people in different ways. How are they integrating their life? The question of should they come to an office or not come to an office is what color shirt should they be wearing? It's a tactical nothing. The real question is, how do we get the work done collaboratively together and we create integrated people? And think about it, America has healthcare through companies. That was the beginning of understanding we could do that. But the answer is we're not doing it fully and we're not doing it very well. First place is what we do is we're right now promoting for people who've taught their first jobs. I like to start at the beginning. It's easier. Financial literacy. How many kids, when they graduate college, really have or high school, doesn't matter, have a real good understanding of how to budget, how to make sure that their expenses are lower than the income that's coming in? How do they know where to save it, how to invest it? Do they understand the power of compounding? Most people don't know this. Teaching our people to do that will help solve a problem, which is most people don't want to, when they're very young, put too much money into a retirement future for their future self because they don't see it as their future self. That money I'm not going to see for 40 years. It must be somebody else's money. That's the whole point. We're changing it back to them, to themselves, and realizing they can control it. Financial literacy should be a basic education. It will help get people to make the investments. The second part is career development. I'm right now launching a brand new program called Emerging Leaders through Vistage, which is looking at these young people and saying, how do I make you a rising star? How do I teach you 12 competencies that McKinsey, Google have all said, you need to be a potential leader. Let's turn these into, again, limitless leadership that they can grow it and make a bigger difference. And again, the goal is not to put a person on an assembly line and move that chocolate for 25 years. Mary Barra started on an assembly line, but she's the CEO. Why don't we have that vision for anybody who might want to do that across the board? We don't want to put people in stages. Let's focus on how do we elevate the capabilities of each person to grow and make a bigger difference in their personal life and their business at the same time. And trust me, it can be done at the same. You just have to have an imagination to do it. We would work within HR and work with the leader on kind of building these programs. The third part is building mentoring programs within the companies. You learn from other people in the company. Many people leave companies. The quitting that takes place is because they don't see where they can go in their little silo. What we do is we get you mentored by someone who's in a different department and gives you a different spin on where this company can go. Okay. And maybe what you want to do as part of the education is learn more about environmental and sustainability and ESG and other kinds of things that you can do and how to do it well. We know when it comes to inclusion, just taking two people of different races and putting them together doesn't bring them together. They have to have a superordinate goal together. They have to know they're working on something together. They're equally making a difference. And that works. We don't do that enough in this country. We can do that in companies. That's the reason I moved from Capitol Hill to corporations, because I realized in a corporation, I have a smaller group of people that we can really get involved, roll up our sleeves, and make a big difference in what we're trying to do. And that's it. And then we don't say we're in now. Think about it. The law says you don't really want to say to someone, you're 60, you're planning on retiring, because it's viewed as, you're going to be an ageist person and fire the person. Let's reverse that. Okay. You're 65. Do you want to be here for another 10 years? That's the question. You want to be here for another 15 years. What else do you think you could do? What would you like? Oh, you want to work on innovation. You'd like to do an entrepreneurship, not an entrepreneurship, leaving the company, stay in the company, develop something new. What I'm saying is this is our opportunity to turn our companies into breeding grounds of greater capabilities of each worker and make a better society out of it.
And after all, isn't that what companies were in the first place? We somehow we lost our North Star somehow. We got off track, and here we are today. You're pulling that all together. Really, what I'm hearing you say is whether I'm an individual, either as a business owner, founder, whatever the case may be, or I'm coming to you as a business, doesn't really make a difference, because with Age Brilliantly, you have programs for really both groups that you'll walk them through step by step, how to do it, what to do. And I know, Jerry, in every situation, it's going to be specific. It's going to be different. I get that. But, ballpark wise, for someone to start seeing some results, start to, get a comfort level with these new concepts, to start making changes in the lives of, the people that you're working with, timing wise, what are we looking at for that?
It's a lifetime. It's not something that you do today. It's not you go to a 1-week seminar with, one of the great gurus, and you come back all motivated. You'll make some changes on a 21-day thing or anything like that. Depends what you're doing. But what's going to happen is you're going to keep doing more, and you're going to keep growing where you're going to take it. And what we do is we define where you're going to go. And very often what it is, I think I'd like to do the following things. And then we ask, what's holding you back? It's coaching. Okay, think of it as, we call it full life FLM, full life mentoring coaching. Where do you want to go in your life, and what would you like to do? And then lay out a plan to be able to do that. And then the person might come back and want to take it to the next level, and then eventually getting an app that's going to help them be able to track what they're doing and see where they're going. And it continues. Remember, you picked the third part of what we see as essentials: relationships. Can't do it individually. Just like we're not going to separate the person's work from their life, we're not going to separate them from their kids and their family. We're going to integrate that. How do we do that? Each person, each company will be slightly different. It's an ongoing process. But what makes it really wonderful is, at the end of the day, I'm not doing any of this. I'm just making it all possible. They're going to do it themselves. Everybody's going to learn from each other. If I want to figure it out, I create a special interest group on companies that want to be able to have more share extras in the company, and they can talk to each other and work out how to do that. That's the value of the platform.
It's amazing. I mean, really, you're combining intentional living and then the mentoring, then the coaching, but it's like the pixie dust that's sprinkled throughout all of this. It's just a different way of looking at things. We're really retraining our mindset, because, again, our inner thoughts, our inner talk forms our outer world. And, Jerry, you haven't quite said it this way, but it's really true out there. Whoever said business isn't personal was never in business. It's all personal. If we don't have it right on the personal side, it's really going to show up on the business side. It's such a unique and different way of looking at things. But as you walked us through this, Jerry, it feels so right. It sounds so that it's amazing that we've overlooked this all these years. And you're now the one person who's going to be with your group, Age Brilliantly, bringing this all together for us to start getting things right, to look at us as a whole person with an integrated way of living, an intentional way of living, family, business, future, finances, health, all those things, relationships. I don't think there's a better way that you could be done. So congratulations and well done on that. As we begin to bump into some time here, and Jerry, you and I mean, we can take each of the 6 areas. Each of those could be an episode, and maybe it should be. But, as we start to wrap up here, I want to do a quick thought experiment, and then I'm going to ask another question right up at the end. But here's what I want to ask you. I'd like you to think of the movie Back to the Future, and, how appropriate for what we're talking about right now. But in the movie Back to the Future, you have that magical DeLorean car that can take you to any point in time. And Jerry, imagine now that it's tomorrow morning. You look outside your window, and there it is. There's a DeLorean car. It's not only sitting there, but the door is open. It's waiting for you to hop on in, and you're now going back to any point in your life. Jerry, as a young child, a teenager, whatever point in time it would be, what are you telling yourself in terms of life wisdom or lessons learned? Or, hey, Jerry, do this, but don't do that. What does that sound like?
I hate to say I'm going to disagree, because I don't want to do that, but I don't go backwards. I get in that car and I put it on 100 years from now.
Oh, I love that. I
want to know where we're going to be 100 years from now. Are we really going to survive? Are we making it better? We've got wars in Ukraine. We've got so many problems all over the world. Has the human experiment failed to take advantage of our capabilities and grow us? And the other answer is, it's not about me. I'm a tree. I just happen to be lucky enough to have the time and energy to think this through, and the commitment and dedication to stay with this until I die. The oldest person, I can't believe I'm really saying this, the oldest person who ever lives is 122 and a half. I've told my kids I have to live to 123. And I said, that's funny, because many years ago, and someone said, how old are you? I said, I'm 123. I'm a simple kid. I don't know. So it ends out. That's where I'm going to go. I want to see the future. I want to see if we made it. And then what I'd like to do is come back and know that I can make a difference in us getting there or not getting there. If I can avoid us doing it. I want to see progress. I love when I do go back to neighborhoods I grew up in and stuff. I love watching change. I think the movie that I like most is Time Machine. If you're talking about time. And the reason is there's a scene in the original version, which was great. How do you show time passing? That's really the question of time mastery. How do you show time passing? Daniel Gilbert says younger people have more things change in their life when they're young. And as they get older, consistently at any age, as they get older, there's fewer. The reason there's fewer is because they're not looking at a future self. They're not understanding they have just as many things they could do, and they're not loading it. So one of the reasons we deteriorate is because we've set ourselves up to do it. If I lock myself in the room, I'm never going to get outside. I go back and I watch it. What was great is they showed a window of a mannequin. And the mannequin's dress goes up and down. There's a man, the building gets knocked off, another building gets built up, etc. And he sees all of this through his window. That's how they show time passing. So when I go to old neighborhoods, I look for what changed. Was it better? Is it worse? I have this group of stores. They were actually, when I was there was a fire. Many of them were closed. Come back many years later. There's now a big cafe with a parking lot there. I don't know if that's called progress or not. But the answer is it's a demonstration. Things change, and we do that. I like to end this with saying, what Age Brilliantly is ultimately, it's a movement. It's people saying, you know something? Why am I selling my life short? Why am I limiting myself? So whether they want to go to a workshop that we run for weekends or one day a week for 6 weeks in a row at night, where you're working on it, doing your homework and bringing it back and working with pods, all the tools are making this possible to do. You, every single person on this planet says, I want to live a fulfilling life as long as I can, be healthy, happy. How do I do that? And I'm going to commit intentionally myself to get there. They're the ones who are doing it. I'm just helping them out.
Jerry, well said. This is probably one of the most creative answers that we've ever heard on the Deep Wealth podcast. And you know what? It's your answer. So you don't have to go back. You want to go to the future, see if we got there, what that looks like. God bless you. And you know, you did what you want. But really, as you're talking through this, as you have this entire episode, just the way you look at things, it's a mind shift. My mind is shifting literally as you're talking. And you know what? You're right. If I can optimize my life for happiness, everything else will fall into place. But if I'm not figuring it out, if I'm not optimizing it, if I'm not having Age Brilliantly help me do that, then, you know, it's all for naught. Why really do it? So you raise a lot of questions. You have some terrific answers for that. Let me ask you this as we begin to now wrap this up. This is going to be in the show notes. It'll be point and click for our listeners. If somebody would like to find you online, where's the best place?
LinkedIn under Jerry Cahn, or agebrilliantly.org. And you can use my email. I answer my emails. It's JCAHN, brilliantly.org.
I'll have all that in the show notes. And for our listeners, you know what? Jerry threw his email out there, and he is a thought leader, a successful individual in all the right circles, seeing all the right things. Take him up on his offer and email him, speak to him, see where things are going and how that can impact you.
And register on the line so you become a member of the movement.
And become a member, of course, and become a member of the movement. In fact, when you go to the website, I'm just going there now, it's right up there. You cannot miss it. Join the movement right at the top of the page. Join the movement. Let's do something different. Let's make a change. That's what it's really all about. And Jerry, you're leading the change and you're doing some incredible things. So on behalf of everyone, thank you for that. And as we wrap up this episode, as always, please stay healthy and safe, and a heartfelt thank you.
Same to you. And join me in the future.
The Deep Wealth experience was definitely a game changer for me.
This course is one of the best investments you will ever make, because you will get an ROI of 100 times that. Anybody who doesn't go through it will lose millions.
If you don't have time for this program, you'll never have time for a successful liquidity.
I mean, it was the best value of any business course I've ever taken. The money was very well spent.
Compared to when we first began, today I feel better prepared, but in some respects, maybe less prepared, not because of the course, but because the course brought to light so many things that I thought we were on top of that we need to fix.
I 100% believe there's never a great time for a business owner to allocate extra hours into his or her week or day. So it's an investment that will yield results today. I thought I will reap the benefit of this program in 3 to 5 years down the road. But as soon as I stepped forward into the program, my mind changed immediately.
There was so much value in the experience that the time I invested paid back so much for the energy that was expended.
The Deep Wealth experience compared to other programs is the top. What we learned is very practical. Sometimes you learn stuff that it's great to learn, but you never use it. The stuff we learned from Deep Wealth experience, I believe is going to benefit us above all.
I've done an executive MBA. I've worked for billion-dollar companies before. I've worked for smaller companies before I started my business. I've been running my business successfully now for getting close to a decade. We're on a growth trajectory. Reflecting back on the Deep Wealth, I knew less than 10% what I know now. Maybe close to 1% even.
Hands down the best program in which I've ever participated. And we've done a lot of different things over the years. We've been in other mastermind groups, gone to many seminars, workshops, conferences, retreats, read books. This was so different. I haven't had an experience that's anything close to this in all the years that we've been at this. It's 5-star, A+.
I would highly recommend it to any super busy business owner out there. And Deep Wealth is an accurate name for it. This program leads to deeper wealth and happier wealth, not just deeper wealth. I don't think there's a dollar value that could be associated with such an experience and knowledge that could be applied today and forever.
Are you leaving millions on the table? Please visit www.deepwealth.com/success to learn more. If you're not on my email list, you'll want to be. Sign up at www.deepwealth.com/podcast. And if you enjoyed this episode, if it added value, if you walked away with some new insights and strategies, please leave a review on your favorite podcast channel. Reviews help us reach new listeners, grow the show, and continue to create content that you'll enjoy. And as we wrap up this episode, as always, please stay healthy and safe.